Hey y'all, I am Hope here at Crafty Hope and welcome. It is day 65 of the 100 Day Project and my hashtag not precious project. That just means I am taking things from my stash that I have deemed too precious to use and actually use them. So I'm kind of coming, if you've watched my previous videos, I'll link to the playlist up there. I've been on staycation this past week, kind of just floundering around. We're back to work and I have a busy day tomorrow, so I'm trying to keep coming up with something I can incorporate today and tomorrow, but I had this idea first thing this morning and I'm gonna roll with it. I have this piece. It is part of a hardware, like a drawer pull, so there would be a handle coming from here and that's where it's, anyway, it's just a little metal piece, and something hit me this morning while looking at it that maybe I could do an image transfer on it and then do something. So I went through my stash. I got this folder of like different things. I don't know if you can see that have been photocopied and printed and all kinds of stuff. And I found an image that I liked. I will admit this is Sacred Feather Soul Journaling. I don't know who that is. I can go look it up. But somebody, I think, sent me these images, and I found this girl. And I really love her eyes. And so I photocopied it because the copy I have is color. I don't have a color copy or a printer. And I'm going to try to do an image transfer onto here. So I'm very nervous about this, but I really want to try it. So, because I've been thinking about something similar to it for a while. So that's the direction we're headed today, is just to see if we can alter this. And that's all I really did on this day 65 of the 100 Day Project and my Not Precious project. I don't know that I did much of an introduction there. So this is part of my 100 Day Project, in which I'm taking items that I had deemed too precious to use in some way or another and using them, altering them, doing something with them rather than just storing and hoarding them. So this little escutcheon is what I am focusing on for this day and the following day. And like I said, on day 65, I really just wanted to get this image transfer. So because it is rusty, and kind of, when it rusts, it's got like that texture to it. I felt, and it was dark, I knew that I needed something light and to have the surface prepared. So as you saw, I put down a layer of white gesso on there, and I'm actually gonna put down a little bit more and then dry it. And once that is dry, we'll come back in and begin the image transfer process. Now I know this is weird that I'm putting this little image transfer here the day after a couple days after I shared my Seek Gather Create, in which I did another image transfer, but that's just kind of how it worked out. Image transfers are definitely a staple of mixed media art, I feel like. So the image transfer technique I'm going to use here is the same one I used in my Seek Gather Create, and that's using a matte gel medium. So now that my surface is prepared, I've taken my little snippet of eyes that I have cut out and kind of made sure will fit on that escutcheon, and I'm coating it in a layer of the matte gel, really focusing on those eyes. I'm having a tough time because I did trim that down so small because I just want those eyes. I don't want to transfer much else. So it is a little bit fiddly, so I think I'm gonna have to add a little more gel medium to it because I knocked off some, and yeah, I had to turn it upside down from how I wanted it to lay. Anyway, you can see what I'm doing, and I'm gonna do as best I can to smooth it out and try to make sure that none of that gel medium gets on the back of it. And I left it to dry. Once it is dry, I've come back with a bowl of water, and you can see I've put the water on there, letting it soak into the paper. And I will use my finger to peel up the paper. This was definitely less of a process than the one I did for Seek Gather Create, in which I had that huge eye I was working with, and it took me a long time. So with image transfer, especially this technique, you are just trying to peel up the layers of the paper and leave the image itself, the ink image. So once I peel up the initial layers, I dried it. It kind of fuzzes back up. And yeah, and so I'm going to go back and forth with wetting it and drying it, wetting it and drying until I feel like I have that transferred. So I did not like, I guess, like the rough edges around there where so much of that gesso is on there. So I tried inking it and that didn't really work. So I've come back with it's a 3M scour pad, and I'm going to rough up the edges of the image and the gesso that's down there. And once that's done, I'm going to leave it for the day, and we're going to come back here in just a second for day 66. It is day 66, and I still have this little piece that I want to work with. I have a very busy day today running around, so I'm trying to get this knocked out before I leave the house. So I've pulled out a couple things. This was in my box of precious items. You can see I've used it in several other projects. I know in my little board book, and it seems like something else, but it's this lace. It just gets me. So I like it, and I've got a piece of cardboard I've kind of started ripping things off of, and I've got these are just Dollar Tree glass beads. So but I like this color to go with the rust. So I think, because I don't want anything that's going to stand out a whole lot on this. So I'm going to start by tearing this down and try to whip something up real quick. I started by tearing down that bit of, y'all, I don't even know what that thing is. It's something I picked up at a thrift store and deemed it too precious, as I have most of my linen items. I have got buckets and stacks of linens, and I think Rose suggested that maybe I do maybe like a linen stack or something and put in my shop. I'm working on some book pages ephemera, but I think I might start tearing down some of these lacy linen bits. So let me know if you're interested in something like that. I knew I was just making this little assemblage, so once I got that lace tore down, I am now tearing down that bit of cardboard. And of course, this is just some packaging from Amazon or something like that. And I really love corrugated, like the exposed corrugated. So I'm trying to get that top layer off. And yeah, and I'm going to test this. And I definitely, excuse me, I'm sorry, I got a little bit of a frog in my throat. Definitely wanted some of that cardboard to show, but it didn't need to be like a central part. I just wanted it for a backer to kind of stabilize the lace and everything, these layers. So I'm going to use Fabri-Tac to go ahead and stick down that lace. It's going to be difficult because, of course, again, this is corrugated, so there's lots of dips and holes in there. So I'm doing my best to kind of like get it on top of those top mounds, the peaks, not the valleys, I suppose. So I can stick that down. And with the Fabri-Tac, because I don't want the like glue seeping through to leave a wet spot, I made sure to kind of like smear it along those peaks and valleys. So I am looking at the back of my little escutcheon, and it also has its own peaks and valleys. So I'm going to make sure that when I stick it down, when I apply this E6000 to it, I am going to hit the peaks again to make sure that there is contact with the fabric, because I want a really nice secure adhesion to it. I don't want this to be too floppy in any way. So yeah, that E6000's all on there. I'm gonna take a little bit of time, make sure that I have got it stuck down and centered. And you know, one of the things I'm gonna add, when I said I had those beads, there's going to be a little bit of stitching there to also help it kind of stick. So I've pulled those cheap beads down, and y'all, I have a huge selection of beads. I make jewelry, I sell jewelry, but looking at all of my beads, these Dollar Tree ones that I just happened to pick up really did match that rust the best. So also they are a good size because they're like E-beads, so they're a larger hole bead that I can get a needle through. I've got some brown embroidery floss that I'm using, and you can see I'm pre-poking a hole like this, going through it, adding my bead to my thread, just like that, and then going back in my hole there, maybe just a little bit off so that it doesn't want to pop back through. And there, I filled those holes, and that was more the purpose there, was to fill those holes, but it also really helped secure that escutcheon in place. So I am going to tie this off real quick and then focus on the bottom of this little panel. So you'll see when I flip it over, there's quite a bit of space there between the escutcheon and the bottom of it, and I've decided to add some mother of pearl buttons. So I'm going to dump out a bunch of them here. Yep, there's one of my mini containers of mother of pearl buttons, and just kind of sort through for 3 that are about the same size. And I wanted them to be kind of off-whitey darkened so that they don't blend in too much to that kind of cream colored fabric that are in the background. So I'm going to tie another knot in my same embroidery floss. And this was getting real sketchy there because that was all of that brown embroidery floss that I had. And I was like, okay, I've got to make this work. So I started with the center one just so that I could kind of work out from it, and I'm just going to stitch it down. And I think, you know, this definitely used up some of that fabric, having to, instead of working from one side to the other, excuse me, gosh, that frog in my throat. Instead of working from one side to the other, I'm working, you know, middle then left then right. And anyway, it's not a huge deal. But once again, you can see I'm pre-poking those holes. I guess, I don't know, is there a better way to describe that? I'm going in through the front to poke a hole so that I know exactly where I want that hole in the back. Because it's, with thicker materials like this, it's a little bit harder. So, I did clean one of those buttons just a little bit with a baby wipe because it was a little grody, which happens sometimes when you get big bags of buttons like I do. So, and then I will stitch that down. Now, you may be wondering, what am I going to do with a piece like this? I did have a whole, was that last year? Gosh, for my 100-day project last year, I did I do 100 mini assemblages, or did I? Anyway, I did mini assemblages, and what I like to do with these mini assemblages is just mount them, whether on a canvas or on some sturdy mat board, and put them in a shadow box frame or something like that, or even in one of my little shadow boxes. Mount them in just like one of the Tim Holtz vignette boxes or something like that. So these little assemblages you could even put them on a card, you know, it's whatever you want. It is a mini work of art. Now, to doubly secure this, I am putting some more Fabri-Tac over those holes, and then I will also put some masking tape over the top of that. I might even add some really secure paper or something over this, like with matte gel, to finish it off and make sure everything's super secure. Alright guys, that is it for days 65 and 66. This was a super short one. I encourage you to go check out what else I have been making. Find me on Instagram, and yeah, make sure you follow me here as well. Thanks for watching. I will see y'all later. Bye.